to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Let's get it started. First game up, Indy and Detroit. And we're seeing minimal stuff popping here, but what is popping, we need to talk about. And it's Jay Huff, 3,900, power forward center eligible on DraftKings, 30% owned, 30% optimal. He's played bigger minutes over his last two. They don't seem to really just pick any specific center, so it's scary. But the power forward eligibility is helping here, and we don't have a ton of value yet. So I'm not surprised to see Huff here, but he is very live to just not play the same amount of minutes. So while I'm nervous about it, from a point per dollar perspective, he's going to look good for most of the day. After that, it starts to get a little dicey. We're getting a little bit of love to Jalen Duren, a little bit of love to Benedict Mathurin, who's been taking every shot he can since he's been back. But ultimately in this game, there's not much going on. Like, we kind of know what rotations are happening here. I find it very difficult to get to like a $10,500 Cade Cunningham. I don't know how much Jaden Ivey's going to be playing, but I think that impacts everybody else on Detroit. So as I look at this game, I like the Huff value, and I'm always interested in Duren based on the way that he's been playing. But I don't anticipate having a ton in this game on DraftKings. And it's even worse on FanDuel because Jay Huff doesn't have that power forward eligibility. He's center only, and he's 8% owned. That's the highest owned guy on FanDuel. Everything else is less. Duren 7, Siakam 6, Cade is 7. From a FanDuel perspective, everything I said on the DraftKings side is the same, only it's even less interesting. I anticipate having as little of this game as possible. Next one up is going to be Cleveland and Toronto, and this one is not going to get a massive breakdown from me, but you need to pay attention to it all day. Both teams are on a back-to-back. We don't know who's playing yet. Neither one of them have an injury report. It doesn't seem like RJ Barrett's playing today. I don't think Darius Garland's playing today. I have no idea if Jarrett Allen is playing today. And there's obviously some additional names that could pop up here. So we might get Jacoby Walter starting. We might get someone else random starting. We have no idea what either starting lineup is going to look like. But if Barrett is out, Toronto just immediately looks a little bit more interesting across the board. If Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen are out, we're going to have some interesting stuff on the Cleveland end. But for right now, we don't know any of it. And we need that information from the injury reports. So pay attention for 1:30. DraftKings and FanDuel. This is relevant on both. We need the information. When both teams are on a back-to-back, it makes a 10 a.m. breakdown a little difficult. New York Knicks, Brooklyn Nets, Nets on a back-to-back. So realistically, they could be doing some weird stuff here. For the Knicks side, no OG Anunoby, no Landry Shamet. It's looking like Jordan Clarkson will get that start. I don't think that makes him any more interesting. He's already 5,200. The only ownership that's coming in here is the Igor Demon at 20%. Minutes have been creeping up a little bit. Jalen Brunson, which I clearly don't have to explain in a Brooklyn Nets matchup. And then $8,200 Michael Porter Jr., who is getting to the point where he's priced where he should be, even if he's going to be shooting as much as he is. After that, it gets bleak. But we could get some Brooklyn news that frees up some additional interest. I guess it is Brooklyn after all. And always, if you want to roster someone like Karl Anthony Towns, especially in this matchup, that wouldn't be shocking at all. Now on FanDuel, that's where Jordan Clarkson matters. 30% owned, 28% optimal, 4K, point guard, shooting guard eligibility. If he starts, this probably gets even bigger. Even if he doesn't, because of no Shamet, I think he's playing like 28 minutes no matter what, and potentially more. This value is going to exist all day on FanDuel, but nothing else really looks that good in this game. Everybody else is sub 10% owned, so it's GPP plays only. But Clarkson is a cash game play. Speaking of tricky games, we got another one here. Miami Heat on a back-to-back against Dallas. Now, Dallas is already going to be without Derek Lively. We're seeing a little bit more ownership already coming into PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, a little bit to Brandon Williams. But then we get to the Miami side, and I legitimately don't know how you roster these guys. Now, if you want to play $7,800 BAM, I think that's slightly different. But welcome back, Tyler Hero. Him being back changes everything. I don't know how you play Hero. I don't know how you play Norm Powell, Andrew Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez. We don't know what this rotation is going to look like, but we certainly know that Tyler Hero is coming back to take some chunk of minutes. where they come from, where the shots come from. All of the guys on Miami are overpriced right now because Tyler Hero hasn't played a single second this season. That makes it very difficult to roster Miami. And I think FanDuel spells that out even clearer. The 5 highest owned guys in this game all come from Dallas. PJ Washington, north of 30. Brandon Williams at 25. Cooper Flagg at 15. Then realistically, it all falls off. But Gafford and D'Angelo Russell are still next before we get to Norm Powell at 5%. Again, these guys just aren't the correct price. Tyler Hero's already priced up, I guess, but he's 7,500. We don't know what he's doing today. It's not like it's a great matchup either way. I mean, it's fast, I guess. But with Hero back now, Miami's just going to be on the outs for a bit, even as the fastest team in the league. Now, before we go any further, I want to remind you guys, there is a link in the description of this video. If you want to sign up at Stokastic and get the projections and information I have on the screen, our simulation tools, our single lineup simulator, our post-contest sims, you can get all of it clicking the link in the description. Sign up through one of our partners, either a pick'em site or a sportsbook. You'll get a month from us for free and something from them, and they all stack together. So if you sign up at 4 different offers and follow the instructions on our page, you'll get 4 months of the Sims. You can do all of that through the link in the description. Denver and Memphis have some weird stuff going on today, but I don't know if it's going to be all that helpful from a DFS perspective. Aaron Gordon is out. We already have Christian Brown out. So we're expecting to see Spencer Jones start for the Nuggets, Peyton Watson as well. Now, Watson is getting some love at 5,300. I'd rather play Cam Johnson at 5,500 than Peyton Watson at 5,300, but at least Watson has the MPE. Cam Johnson only 5% owned, love him in tournaments. Minutes are up. Murray's fine. Jokic is 13.5. Now we know what he's gonna do. He's gonna fill up the stat sheet. We're just aware of it at this point. But it's really hard to roster him right now with the value that we have available. Does that change throughout the day as we get more news? Sure. Jokic will, by default, look a little bit better as the day goes on because we'll just free up more value. But right now, 5% owned, and I think it makes sense. If you want to play him, go for it. For the Memphis side, the highest owned guy is 4.5% to Cedric Coward. Now, Triple J is questionable. If he ends up out, I think we could look a little bit closer at Santi Aldama. Everybody else on Memphis kind of rises a little bit just because they've got some extra shots going on. But as it stands right now, the only guy getting any love is Peyton Watson. And it's kind of the same deal on FanDuel where Watson is breaking away, 4,900, power forward only, 20% owned. You do get more Jokic. 1, it's a more manageable price. 2, there's an opportunity cost. There's only one center. So 12.8 for Jokic, 15% owned. Then we see Cam Johnson, 3rd at 9%. Positive leverage. I think he's still underrepresented. But the biggest piece of information here is going to be, what are we doing with Jaren Jackson? In or out? What a wild game we have here. Portland and the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously no Giannis for this one. We don't have Drew Holiday either, but Portland's on a back-to-back. So if we don't have anything else, we don't know it yet. We need the injury report. We got 2 25% owned guys in this game. One is a $9,300 Denny Avdia. The other is an $8K Ryan Rollins. And at least based on our data right now, those ownership numbers look fine. They are the 2 best guys you can get to. Now, we don't know what we're doing with Shaedon Sharpe right now. We don't know what we're doing with the rest of Portland's rotation. We do kind of know what we're doing with the rest of Milwaukee, and it's pretty much just ignoring them. So the focus on the DraftKings side in this game is strictly 2 guys for now. Portland injury report could change this a bit, but it's Denny Avdia and it's Ryan Rollins. Slightly different on FanDuel. Avdia is more expensive at 9,700, so he's only 15% owned. Ryan Rollins maintains right at that 25% owned mark, same price tag. But then we see Bobby Portis, who's getting a little bit more run with Giannis out. 5,700 power forward center eligible, 20% owned, 20% optimal. A little bit more love for Turner and Kuzma here. This is a game that I don't really like all that much on DraftKings. I find it much more appealing on FanDuel if you're trying to get to the game itself. But either way, on both sites, Ryan Rollins is the premier name. Final game on the DraftKings slate, and we're getting some love. New Orleans and Chicago. Neither one of these teams has much of a defense. There are a lot of question marks here. Is Zion playing today? We do not know. Q-tag Kevin Huerter, Q-tag Patrick Williams, but one way or the other, Derek Queen is 50% owned, 50% optimal at 5,800 today. Matchup obviously looks fantastic. His role is growing and growing. But if he's playing alongside Zion, that does get a little scary. However, The only people getting any love in this game are the Pelicans. It's Derek Queen at 50% owned. It's Zion at 25. It's Jeremiah Fears at 25. And then we get Trey Murphy at 10. The highest owned bull is $4,300 Jalen Smith. And I think that just says a lot more about what today's slate is. We do not have value anywhere. So we're funneling to the mid-range, and some of these cheapies are breaking free in a way that it won't look like that when we get to lock. But as of right now, the first guy in any cash lineup you play is Derek Queen. Much less ownership coming in on FanDuel. Queen is 6,800 here. Power forward, center eligible, just 20% owned. Oddly, $8,400 Zion is the highest owned guy at just north of 20%. Scares me, but the matchup's great. And if he comes back and plays 29 minutes, there's no reason he can't pay off that salary. I'm just nervous about minutes upside. We do get a little bit more Fears here, but now with Kobe White back, I think that complicates him. I think it complicates Giddey. I think it complicates Vooch. But if we lose Herter and Patrick Williams, then I want to take a closer look at Ayo Dosunmu, Matas Buzelis. Then we start to see a little bit more in this one. Final 3 games of the night exist on the FanDuel main only. That is Rockets Suns, Jazz Warriors, Wolves Kings. Now there's a lot of question marks going on here, but the thing we want to point out most, no Kevin Durant for Houston. And that is creating 40% ownership to Reed Shepherd, 5,300, point guard, shooting guard eligible. They're already without Tari Eason. This is a mildly dinged up team right now. And I think they're more likely to play their real guys big minutes than really stretch their rotation out. That's why Reed Shepherd looks as good as he does at this moment. We've got Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler both pulling around 25% ownership. In this matchup, I think it makes a ton of sense against Utah. And it really falls off. There's not that many talkable pieces here. Sacramento's coming off of a win against Denver. The highest owned guy in this game for them is 13% owned Precious Achiuwa, and he's fine. There's a lot of fine in these final 3 games, but no one looks as good as Reed Shepherd, and I think the 2 premier pay-ups are Curry and Butler. But there's a lot of Q tags left to find out on Houston. Something like Steven Adams will really change this up a bit. We've got Keegan Murray now back for Sacramento. We're not really going that direction. If I'm picking off pieces here, it's probably on the Houston side, given their current status. But I got to admit, an 8% owned Anthony Edwards seems a little sneaky for FanDuel today. And I just wanted to put that out there. But that's what we've got for today. 10 games, 7 on DraftKings, 10 on FanDuel. And I just gave you the goods on all of them.